Welcome to the Leader Impact Podcast. We are a community of leaders dedicated to optimizing our personal, professional, and spiritual lives to have impact. This show is where we have a chance to listen and engage with leaders from around the world who are living this out. We love talking with leaders, so if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions to make this show even better, please let us know. The best way to stay connected is through our newsletter at leaderimpact.ca or on social media at LeaderImpact. I'm your host, Lisa Peters, and our guest today is Arlene Jorgenson. A businesswoman with a background in nursing and occupational health, Arlene is the former president, CEO, founder of Healthsurf Saskatchewan. Launched in 1992, Healthsurf became Saskatchewan's largest occupational health services provider, specializing in independent medicals, immunizations, drug and alcohol testing, and return to work programs. Winner of the 2007 ABEX Award for Customer Service and the 2011 SABEX Award for Growth and Expansion, Arlene and team had a reputation for expertise and excellence in the medical field. In 2013, she sold her company and retired to take care of her husband, who was living with cancer. A change she was not ready for. The transition and struggle to remain relevant had begun, and as Arlene continues to overcome the difficulties and challenges of life, she continues to adjust her goals with every new day. She is a healthcare consultant, board member, motivational humorist, Quilter, 4-H sewing club leader, and she now uses her influence and experience to give back to her community. Join us now for a conversation with Arlene Jorgenson as we chat about overcoming adversities in your personal, professional, and spiritual life. Welcome to the show, Arlene.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. I'm so pleased to be here.
Well, it's kind of exciting for me because we sort of reconnected about 2 years ago at a conference in Saskatchewan. But I remember the day meeting you, and I'm going to say it was like 13 years ago. I don't even know if you remember this. I was working for a radio station. You were Healthsurf in Regina, and I came in to sell you advertising.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember coming in there, and you completely schooled me on radio advertising. Like, you knew you were strong, and you knew exactly what you wanted. And
is that right?
Yeah, I was a little nervous.
Did I give you any? Did I give you any business?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Wow,
so
isn't that something?
I know. So it was really nice to run into you a couple of years ago and reconnect. And
oh, for heaven's sakes! Well, thank you for sharing that story with me. That's neat. That's neat.
So I want to start with you telling our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, your introduction was a very nice overview of everything that's happened in the last 20 years, actually. Now I am a grandma, a great grandma. I'm a widow. I'm a retired nurse and a retired business person. And so COVID has given me lots of space to think about how I want my life to be going forward. And I'll just be honest with you, that has been a brutal process. Grieving, losing my husband 2 years ago, and then COVID, these last 18 months overlapping one another, that's just been brutal. And I suffered from depression and isolation, and I'm living in I guess it's a retirement. I hate saying that, a retirement village, but it was a great place. It was 55 plus. It was a great place for my husband to be because there's no steps, no stairs, no basement, and I have no reason to move. It's just wonderful, and so then that pace has been different, and COVID has given me lots of space to think about what I want my life to be. So here I am. I'm involved in lots of mentoring and teaching opportunities, but all of those are, casual. I don't have to work anymore, and so I can pick and choose, and it's really fun.
Did you ever think that these adversities and these obstacles that come into your life, do you ever kind of think like, this just isn't fair?
Oh, yeah.
No?
Yeah, you do think that. You think it isn't fair. And I thought, my husband was 20 years older than me. And so I thought, I'm too young to be a widow. This isn't fair. I'm too young to be alone. Um, I sold my business. And so I was thinking, well, I'm too young to retire. I need to keep on working. I want to keep on working. I think I have something to contribute. And so, oh, yes, you think, yeah, this isn't fair.
Was there ever a point in your life when you look up and go, come on, man?
Oh, oh, absolutely, Lisa. Um, I thought, well, this isn't fair. It's not fair. My husband was older than me, and so I was thinking I'm too young to be a widow. Um, I was getting ready to sell my business, and I thought, I'm too young to retire. I need to keep on working. I want to keep on working. I have something to contribute. But the new company let it be known that there was no room for me. And so I was grieving that. I was grieving that my husband didn't have too much time left. Absolutely. But then after you get over that, I guess it's the initial anger and denial. Then finally you get to the place where you realize, well, I mean, really, things happen to people all the time. Why shouldn't it be me? And then you start thinking about, oh, I'm so glad that I have the resources I do. I'm so glad I don't have to work so that I can look after him. I'm so glad that we don't have kids or other responsibilities. Um, and so then eventually, once you go through all those stages, you just start being grateful for the circumstances that you do have and what you can learn from it.
Yeah, because we do learn from
Yeah.
every step in front of us. We just have to keep moving forward. So we're going to switch a little bit to going back to Healthsurf. You started Healthsurf in 1992, and I really think of, when I met you, and you were such a strong woman. But in 1992, what was mentorship like for women almost 30 years ago versus today?
Oh, oh, Lisa, that's such a good question. How about let's just say non-existent? Yeah, I felt very, very alone. And I can tell you, I had some really awful experiences with banks, with an accountant, but even before that, you go to the business center and you ask for help on writing a business plan. I'm a nurse. I don't have formal business training. And so I asked for help to write a business plan. And the guy looked at me and he said, that idea will never work. Well, I, I, I didn't think that wasn't asking you for business advice. I was asking you to help give me some outlines for writing a really good business plan. And I went home, I licked my wounds, I thought about it, and thought, no, there are occupational health. I'd done my research. There were occupational health consulting companies in Alberta, in Manitoba, in BC. I was joining a group that was national. Healthsurf was not my invention. That was a Healthsurf. I was going to buy the business for Saskatchewan, and so I knew what the trajectory was going to be, and I knew that there was opportunity in Saskatchewan for this. And so then I went back to that business guy again the next week, and I said, I need some help with give me some outlines and stuff for a really good business plan. And I told him what I thought, and he still was very discouraging. Yeah, and I've had accountants that have said, Arlene, I think you need to, you need to think about filing bankruptcy. I've had bankers. Now, interestingly, this was a woman banker that talked to my accountant sitting beside me about me in the third person. And I just about was ready to blow my top. And my accountant, she left the room, and my accountant said, Arlene, it's okay. Let's just get through this. No, it's not right, but let's just get through this because we need her to sign off on this. And, or the experience I had the first time I went to a Chamber of Commerce meeting and happened to just randomly sit at a table that ended up full of men, and how I was treated, not by all of them, but by the guy that was sitting beside me. And yeah, I had to develop a skin that was tough as nails, because I really felt like I was plowing this row all by myself. Also, the Saskatchewan Registered Nurses Association didn't know how to help me. A nurse being in private practice, so I learned, don't ask them anything that they aren't equipped to tell me about. So yeah, it was very lonely. Then it was in the as we got closer to 2000, then women entrepreneurs happened, and then they knew, the statistics showed that women in business stayed in business longer and were more successful. So then all of a sudden banks and other groups are clamoring to provide services for women, and then things started changing.
Yeah. Did you find yourself alone 30 years ago?
Oh, very alone.
Yeah.
Very alone. And I wasn't married. I had just come out of an abusive relationship. And so I used to jokingly say that I was young, I was divorced, I was blonde, I was a nurse, I had no formal business experience. And in my culture, that's not a position of strength. And so every day I had to think hard about who I was before I could even get out of bed in the morning. Otherwise, I would have just stayed in bed.
I'm glad you didn't, Arlene.
No.
So do you think women, or maybe the question is more, what adversities do you think women face today when leading teams?
Well, I think it's the same thing, but perhaps not on the same degree, because we all struggle with, am I doing the right thing? Can I really do this? Am I equipped to do this? We all struggle with those same thoughts, but those same insecurities. Do I have enough education? Do I have the background? Do I have what it takes to do this? But now there's more voices. There's more books written by women for women. There's more inclusion of women at the table, even though it certainly isn't at 50%. There's more services for women. There's bankers that are women and that are very well equipped and very educated on how to deal with women in banking. In fact, my current bank person, account manager, specializes in working with women. So I think the issues or the insecurities are the same. The questions are the same, but it's easier to find the answers, and that's a wonderful thing.
And I mean, I know you're in the healthcare industry, and right now, I mean, COVID, your friends are probably just working so hard right now, and the women you know in nursing, but for other women, do you think we kind of got sent? And I think that's bad, but we took a step back here.
Yeah,
We're
we
taking
really
care
did.
of our kids. Okay.
Yeah, we really did. And of course, you and I both know that from the reading that we've done. But you're right that in the healthcare industry, no, women did fine because we were needed. I wasn't needed. I tried. That's a different story. But the people that are already working in that field, there were casual and part-time people, nurses that got full-time work and were able to look after their families. So that was one sector that really did well during COVID. But a lot of the other women got sent home. And yes, I think it has set us back. Although I'm an optimist, and I believe that it's also caused us to evaluate what is it that we want from our lives. So some people have gone home and they've realized, you know what, I do like working from home. I do like being there when my kids come home from school. And so I think there's a lot of people, men and women, who are going to reorder their lives or redirect things so that I read yesterday there's 4 million people in the United States who went home and who have not come back. So they have redirected their life in a way that, because they adjusted their values or had an opportunity to live to their values. So that's going to be interesting too.
Yeah, were you on the Global Summit? We just talked about the Great Resignation.
Yes, the
People are
Great
leaving.
Resignation. That's what they called
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. And I think I've even we went home, and I know we've had the conversation how long ago about my self-worth was in my job.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel,
Mm-hmm.
because I've said I have an event management firm that lost every contract, and
Mm-hmm.
I just kept looking up and going, okay, what are we doing now? Like I'll wait for it. But I feel like I was so important there, and what am I now? And I
Oh,
feel that for women.
oh, exactly. And it didn't take COVID for that to happen to me. It took selling my business and being sent home then. That was 7 years ago. And then finding out that my husband wasn't doing as well as I thought he was. Instead of being grateful that I could be home with him, I went through this horrible crisis of, I had been a business owner and a business founder and a businesswoman, and I was influential and I was somebody, and now I didn't even have a business card that made sense. So, as an aside, I got some business cards. I had to think hard about what to put on it, but I got some cards so that I started rebuilding my identity. But I wasn't. I was surprised by how much that had defined who I was.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So would you say there's anything else that you haven't moved on from, or haven't gotten over since leaving the corporate world?
Mm. It's hard to get over knowing everyone. You know, my Cardex, Rolodex, or whatever you want to call it, my contact list was deep and wide, and I didn't have people filed alphabetically because that's not the way my brain works. I had them filed under N for nurse and C for counselor and O for oil and gas and things like that, and T for transportation. Um, and you had this rich group of people that you could not only have conversations with about business and stuff, but that became friends and colleagues. And then that doesn't happen, and then then you're retired and it seems like all your friends have gray hair. Nothing wrong with that, but we're not talking business anymore. We're talking grandchildren. And yeah, so that was a and my Cardex is not valuable anymore. It's completely irrelevant. Well, I shouldn't say that exactly. That sounds because I do lots of fundraising for groups now. Help them with fundraising. So I still have influence, and I still have to pull out those contacts. That's part of the deal when you're on the board of this or board of that. Who do you know that can leverage this? And so, yeah, but it's in a different kind of way.
Yeah, I saw you, and I know that because I saw you doing an interview on TV for a charity that you were part of.
Oh, yeah,
And yes, you do have to whip out your Rolodex. That is your job.
yeah, that's right.
So if you had to sum up your personal and professional life, what are some of the successful ways you have pushed through adversity? What are those ways that
Hmm.
you pushed through adversity in your life?
Hmm. Well, I think we have to because adversity, you're not functioning at a high level. When adversity happens, we go right down back to psychological and physical security, um, a sense of belonging, and so there are days when you're rolled up in a ball in the fetal position, wondering why you should get out of bed, or that's what was happening with me. Why should I get out of bed? For some reason I was thinking horrible gloomy thoughts like all my nice stuff's going to end up in the landfill anyway. At my worst, that's how it was. So if I could look back and tell myself, give myself good counsel, I would say, Arlene, get up, wash your face, comb your hair, um, have a shower, not in that order, brush your teeth. Come on, put on a nice outfit, put some lipstick on, and let's just eat some good food and get through the day. And then we can worry about those other things another day and another day. Instead, being a high performance person like I am, and used to being in control, instead I would just be more depressed because look at me, I'm gaining weight. My kitchen is messy. My sewing room is a mess. I haven't finished unpacking those boxes. We just, my to-do list is 4 pages long, and and here I am, wondering whether today should be the day that I have a shower or not. Yeah, you get into some really dark places. So, handling adversity, I want to remind people, because I need to be reminded of it, that it's okay if you find yourself exhausted mentally and physically, because that's what adversity does to us. It sucks the energy out of us. You have to say to yourself, this too shall pass, because it will. It will. It will pass. It won't. And a year from now, it either will be gone, or it certainly won't be as overwhelming as it is right now. And then the next thing somewhere along the line, after taking care of some good nutrition and getting outside for a walk and connecting with nature, because it grounds you, I would have to say, and this has been a real challenge during COVID, is that you have to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with really positive and powerful people. When you're going through adversity, there's not a lot of energy to say, oh, well, I think I'm going to phone my friend Lisa because I'll get an encouraging word. No, you have no energy to do that. But, and yet you have to. And so keeping in touch with my sister, keeping in touch with my mom and dad. When a friend calls, making sure that I pick up the phone and answer, all those little bits. Then when it's somebody else's turn, and somebody else is going through adversity, then I have to remember that, so that then I'm the one, because I've got some energy now, and I'm the one that needs to make a phone call, drop a note in the mail, send a text with an encouraging word. And it's made me realize it's made me realize many, many things. But one of the things is adversity happens to all of us. It goes through waves and peaks and valleys. And if it's not my turn this time, it's your turn, and so we have got to be helping each other. We've got to be helping each other. We need a community, a village.
We do. And I find that sometimes when someone crosses your mind, like when you cross my mind, I remember this. I reached out to you, and I think you said, I was just thinking of you or something. But when you think of someone, reach out to them and just give them a quick note, a quick text. Hey, how are you doing? Because they crossed your mind for a reason. In my mind, that's how I feel.
Yes, I believe that too.
They've been put on your heart.
Yeah. There were people, when my husband was sick, there were people, of course, people that would send cards, and that was really wonderful. There was one lady that sent a card just every week or two, the whole time. And not to Stu, who was the one who was sick, but to me. And I thought, man, oh man, those cards are pure gold. And so I said, self, make sure that you remember that. And so I have become a person who writes a lot of cards. Yeah.
Ah, I love that. I love cards. So we're going to switch a little bit over to your spiritual life. And I want you to tell us a little bit about your spiritual life. And I just wonder, did you grow up in a family with strong faith?
Mm-hmm. I wish I did. I'm envious of those people who did. Although I grew up in a great family. I was the oldest of 4 kids. And we went to the Lutheran church in town at Christmas and Easter. But I had a neighbor that lived up the road. Ruth Weber was her name. I honor her by mentioning her name. She was, we would call her a spinster back then, and she was a farmer. And so I didn't know that it was odd to be a woman who was a farmer, because there was Ruth. And she would pick up all the little kids in the countryside from May until October and stuff us all in the car. That was before seatbelts. And drive us to the country school that was 2 miles up the road, where my mom and dad went to elementary school, and sweep that place out, clean it up, light the fires, and we had Sunday school there every Sunday. So I was going to that Sunday school from when I was 2 years old. So I can't ever remember not knowing that God loved me and had a plan for my life. I think my mom was just glad to get rid of one kid for a little while. And then Ruth would pick me up and take me to Vacation Bible School and to the Sunday school picnic and to Bible camp. And then later on, she would pick all the girls up after school to Pioneer Girls. What an amazing legacy that was. So then it was, I was 8 years old when I made a commitment to follow Jesus. And then, of course, all the ups and downs of life, and reconfirmed that commitment. And so that has been the trajectory of my life, and having great friends, and being involved with Christian movements at university. And so that has been a theme of my life, that my faith is very, very important to me. It grounds me. And during adversity, that's the thing that keeps you going, because it provides a framework for what is happening. It's not poor me. It's not, well, it's bad luck. No, this is happening because we live in a broken world. And but I have resources, and I have a God who loves me and who is looking out for my best. So no matter how this turns out, I have access to strength and resilience because of my faith in God.
Wow. So I want to go back to, you said you committed to God at 8 years old. What does that look like at 8 years old?
Well, what it looks like it is at 8 years old, I think is an acknowledgement. I was a very mature girl, an acknowledgement that in order for me to really lean into being a Christian, I had to ask Jesus into my heart. I had to ask him to forgive me of my sins, to come into my heart and make me the kind of person he wanted to me. And of course, that changed everything. It's kind of like reading and writing about taking a bath, but until you really get in the water, you're not really taking a bath. And so I can remember that being, it was at a series of a children's program. And I remember the teacher saying, that you need to ask Jesus into your heart. And one night I just realized that's exactly what I need to do. And it was a very real spiritual experience, I remember, of feeling absolutely overwhelmed with the fullness of God's love in my life.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So now, years later, you were in college and you got involved in ministries and stuff. But how did Leader Impact ever come to you?
Oh, well, actually, it came quite honestly. Um, Most people within Leader Impact eventually bump into Judy and Nathan Hildebrand. They are. They've been involved with Leader Impact for over 30 years, and they developed the Leader Impact movement across Canada and then globally, and then are helping to lead it through North America because of the influence of the programs and the systems and the resources that they put in place. Well, I grew up with them. Yeah, I grew up with Judy. She was my one of my best friends in high school. Our parents were friends, drinking buddies, if you must know, and Nathan was my grad partner. So shh, don't tell anybody. Yeah. And so we go way back together. Then we ended up at university together. And then I lived in the Northwest Territories and in Manitoba, and they lived all over BC and places. And then 30 years ago, we both moved back to Saskatchewan, and I ended up living in a house that was a block away from them. Yeah. So I can't ever remember. I've always been involved in what Judy and Nathan are involved in. So
Okay.
they got me involved with, well, back in Saskatchewan, we didn't call it Leader Impact then. I forget what we called it. And then it developed into, so we were the place where they were practicing out small groups and forums and the things that we now know are foundational to a Leader Impact City movement. And so we worked on those things here.
Amazing. That's a good story. That goes back a
You
long
didn't
ways.
you didn't know that?
No, okay, number one, didn't know you dated Nathan for you were his grad date.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't
Yeah.
know it went all
Oh
that far
yeah.
back. It's
Judy and
high
I
school.
and two other friends, we were hot stuff. We had a singing group. In high school, we had matching outfits, and we sang at every senior citizens and birthday anniversary celebration. Yeah, we were hot stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, so you were part of Leader Impact during your career with Healthsurf. Did you ever bring Christian influence into Healthsurf? I just want to know how you did that, or if you
Okay.
did it.
Yes. Well, first of all, you I think at the very beginning I thought that Christian was something you did at the workplace, and I didn't know how because of the separation of church and state. Anyway, I made it way too complicated. Being Christian is what I am. And I'm the boss. I bring all of myself into the workplace. And so, yes, through conversations, people knew what my beliefs were. They knew that I went to church. They knew that I was involved in Leader Impact. I invited them at different times to come to the forums. But and whether you want to admit it or not, of course, your values and the way you live out your life is loud and clear to everybody. And that became very clear to me one day when one of the consultants that we worked with, a financial consultant that we worked with, she had cancer and she died. And it was very sad to all of us. And so we made the announcement to the staff, and my chief operating officer turned to me and said, "And now Arlene will lead us in a prayer." Well, it would have been nice, it would have been nice if she would have warned me of that. But you see, she thought, this is a sacred moment, and I think we need a prayer, and Arlene's the one to do it. Um, and everybody bowed their head, and I said a prayer of blessing on for that woman's life and for her family. And so it things like that made me realize that it's how you do everything. And so I stopped thinking, well, now we need to do something Christian, and now we need, we're not doing something Christian. Yeah.
It's just part of everything. It's
Part of
everything about you.
everything. Yeah. So living that authentic life was something that I started embracing more and more. I had a little prayer in the inside of where I hung up my coat. And I would start the day with looking and reading that little prayer about helping me to be a good influence today, and may I be a blessing to others. And so things like that helped me.
Yeah. I find that even this podcast for me and the little reminders in the day and the morning time, I need all of that to continually feel, close to God.
Yes. Yeah. And
so I love that.
Yeah, and to feel authentic, to feel integrated, a fully integrated life. That's a word that I'm using a lot lately. That those parts of your life are fully integrated and completely authentic. That there isn't an off-on switch for any of those parts of your life. It's fully integrated, and that's I think that's a good place to be. It feels like a very mature place to be for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So obviously, Leader Impact is dedicated to leaders having a lasting impact. And as you continue to move through your own journey, Arlene, have you considered what you want your faith legacy to be when you leave this world?
Oh, wow. Do you know what? I can develop the answer to this question into a thesis. And actually, funny you should put it that way, because actually I'm taking master's classes right now. This is my COVID project. Is I'm taking master's classes, a master's in leadership from Horizon College and Seminary. I remember when I was taking my nurse practitioners at the University of Alberta, the woman I lived with, that I was staying with, was 60 years old, and she was taking a degree in theology. And I thought, what's the point? Why are you doing that? And it took me a while to formulate a polite way to ask the question. And I asked her the question, and she said, I realized that in 4 years, I'm going to be 64, whether I have a degree or not. And I thought, wow. And here I am. Here I am doing the same thing. It's wonderful to be engaging in those conversations. So all of that to say that right now my assignment for 3 weeks from now is to answer that same question that you just asked me, Lisa. Yeah, that's my assignment, and I've been grappling with that because unlike some of the other people in the class, I'm not taking it so that I can improve my resume and get a better job. I'm doing it for my own personal growth and benefit. So what is it that I want? I complained, or I whined to God that I'm too young to be a widow. I'm not ready to retire. Well, I know that He has something more for me. I'm not ready for a rocking chair or um, playing bridge every afternoon. So what is it that He has for me? So I think you might have to wait and read that paper in but I know that there's significant things. I know that those are completely within my resource, what's in my hands. I know that. So I'm just putting some words around that right now.
I love it. Well, I am coming back to you then. I'll be checking in with you on a regular basis. So, my final question to you is what brings you the greatest joy?
Oh, that is a good question. Well, COVID has shown me that I am an extrovert. This business of being at home and being alone has just about killed me. It was awful, and of course, there was a period of time in there where about 6 months where I couldn't see my grandchildren or visit much with anybody, and I just about shriveled up and died. So. What brings me the most joy is being involved with people, especially positive and um, people that are interesting and going somewhere. So, who knew that my crafting group and my quilting group would become such a wonderful group of encouragement? And I've been able to mobilize them to make quilts for the new hospice in Saskatchewan and to make handmade cards to put in Christmas baskets as a fundraiser for St. Paul's Hospital Foundation. I'm a chaplain for the Husky Women's Hockey Program, and then do fundraising for their scholarship program. Uh, so being involved, mentoring, I consider that all to be teaching and mentoring, and building into these people's lives, and using those relationships for good, for something bigger than myself. And then, of course, I have to say that hanging out with my family, my bubble has gotten a little bit bigger, but hanging out with family. My dad is going to be 90 years old this weekend, and he's as healthy as a horse. Big, strong, strapping Norwegian guy, doesn't take any medication, golfs every day, and so he's amazing. I'm going to go down to Arizona to visit them at Christmas time. So spending time with my grandchildren, my great grandchildren, being very intentional about those relationships. Isn't it funny, Lisa, that during COVID, when we're not supposed to be gathering with all those people, we don't phone them either?
Yes.
Isn't that funny? Which just shows you again how much our mental
Yeah.
health is our mental capacity and our physical capacity. We're not supposed to go visit them, so somehow 2 weeks goes by and we haven't phoned them. Well, there's nothing wrong with my phone, and I'm yeah. So
Or social media or my texting or
yeah,
all the ways we can connect.
all the ways we can connect. Let's be creative. We can get together and golf in the summer. We can get together and go for a walk. We can take the dogs out. Yeah. So that's what gives me joy these days.
Oh, well, thank you, Arlene, for sharing your story with us today. You bring me joy. I just want to
Oh,
thank you.
good.
Oh, you are an inspiration and a rock for me at times. And this summer, you knew I was going through I had a contract that was very hard, and you called me so many times. So I'm honored to have you as a friend in my life.
Oh,
So thank you.
I'm so
Uh,
glad. Well, that means that I've learned my lessons well, because I had to learn those lessons about how important that was, and that when I get that nudge, I need to, like, how much does it cost me really to send a little note? And yet I know darn well how much those little notes mean to me. So thank you for saying that. That's very kind.
Thank you. Your leadership through adversity is a story that we all need to hear, because I think sometimes we feel like we are alone in this world,
Oh,
and we
yes.
are not.
No, we're
So
not.
thank you.
We're not. This isn't the first time this has ever happened in the world. This happens to every person in every generation. I'm realizing adversity does, and we are not meant to do this alone. We are meant to do this in a village. And I'm becoming very aware of, in my role as a mature woman. I'm not in the workplace, but as an auntie, as a grandma, as a friend, I have a responsibility to be very intentionally supporting my tribe.
All right. Well, thank you, Arlene, for sharing your day with us.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Have a great
All
day.
right. You too. All right. Well, Leader Impact is a global movement dedicated to leaders having a lasting impact. We believe that true impact occurs when your personal, professional, and spiritual life is fully engaged. We have a network in over 350 cities around the globe. We host live and virtual events throughout the year and have a growing network of peer groups that meet weekly across these cities. Our podcast is just one of the ways to help you accelerate your growth as a leader. We hope you enjoyed meeting Arlene Jorgensen. If you're part of Leader Impact, you can always discuss or share this wisdom with your group. And if you are not yet in Leader Impact Group, we would love to have you. So check out groups available in your area at leaderimpact.ca, or get in touch with us and we will connect you. Stay in touch with our newsletter at leaderimpact.ca or on social media. And remember, impact starts with you.